Hello there. I found myself in a little bit of a unusual situation. Got a VTuber model that I really liked thanks to much help from a friend who has done a pretty good job at creating what you see here on the left right now. But even though I know that VTubing is mostly geared towards Windows, right? It's the operating system most people use. Sometimes it works in macOS as well, but that's not really a focus, and it's definitely not a focus on Linux. I wanted to make this work on Linux. And apparently, according to many guides that I've seen online, actually, according to one guide from Kylo Neko, which I'll have linked in the description, um, it is possible if you have an iPhone. I do not. And even though I could purchase one, I wanted to have it work using my webcam. Now, there is an existing solution, right? You can simply just use OpenCFace, for which you can run manually, or you can open up a little program called FaceTacker. However, FaceTacker also uses OpenCFace. Um, and I wanted something that uses MediaPipe. And the reason is because OpenCFace is a little bit older. It doesn't have the blend shapes functionality, which are all these things over here. And so the tracking is just not going to be as good with OpenCFace. And so even though this is a pretty good program that I enjoyed testing with, I wanted something that used MediaPipe. And I have found a little bit of code online that someone else has created, I think Lilac Galaxy, and I also have that linked in the description. But I didn't have a complete solution the way that I wanted it to have. So I just created my own little program. This is Marmalade. And what it does is essentially, just like the face tracker application that I opened earlier, this one uses MediaPipe. So unlike face tracker, which just opens up OpenCFace server, right, which VTube Studio can then listen to, this one, well, there is no such a thing as a MediaPipe server, right? So I had to get a little bit creative. What Marmalade does is not only does it run MediaPipe itself, right? So if you're wondering what does MediaPipe even do, it grabs images from your webcam, add the resolution and other format settings that you specify, and it puts them through a face detection and categorization little model, which is this little thing right here, this task file. And once it's done with that, it then computes all these little blend shapes right here. So jaw open would be and like eye blink would be something like this, and then all these are the other attributes such as looking over each direction, right? Or something like that, or something like this. Lots of different little things. All of that MediaPipe takes care of, and it's not as good as having an iPhone, but it's good enough. And I wish that there was just an existing solution for it, but there was not. So I created one. I created this little program right here. Um, Again, with using some code that was already out there, also using inspiration from existing programs, right? So nothing is created, everything is copied kind of way. But, with attribution, with credits. And speaking of credits, and basically how you set it up is you select the webcam that you want. You select all the resolutions. If you don't know which ones you want to use, here are the supported ones. If you still don't know how to navigate this, here is the little format ID. For example, I'm using Motion JPEG, and all the supported frame rates and like height, width, etc. If you still don't know which one you want to use, keep in mind this one is not compressed And because of that, it's kind of limited in terms of how much data you can put through that little USB port. In my case, it's only if I try to record at 1080p, it's 5 FPS. Even 720p is only 10. So this is just not good enough. However, Motion JPEG, because it's a compressed format, I can record at 1080p 30 fps, and so the quality of the image that will be fed to MediaPipe will be much more improved. The only downside is that it is a compressed format, which means that it needs to be decompressed, and this creates a little bit of CPU usage that we'll get to in a little bit. But essentially, you set all this up. If you don't have a need to change the UDP port, don't change it, keep it this one. You can download this file from Google's website. I will also leave a link to that in the description as well. You basically just scroll down and download the latest version. And you can even toggle if you want to upload some resources from the CPU to the GPU. And if you have a very powerful GPU, or if you even have a spare, you definitely want to use this feature. If you don't, and the CPU can't handle things better than GPU, then you can leave it disabled. You can try out different settings as well. You may notice that it says for me to start as if I have not yet started it, and the reason for that is because I'm actually already running it. I also have a command line version in case for some reason you are unable to run or you do not want to run the little program with its UI over here. You can run the command line version. It works pretty much the same. The reason why I'm running the command line version doesn't have anything to do with the program itself necessarily. It's more that I'm also doing a little test over here at the same time, which is using VBridger, GPU accelerated, also Marmalade using the GPU, and VTube Studio using the GPU, but not my primary GPU like this one, but instead my secondary GPU, which is an RK310. It's not a very powerful GPU, but it was pretty cheap, and I can basically just chug so much like stuff into it to try and keep my primary GPU free. And this I'll need to test more later on, but for now I think it's working out pretty well. Don't mind that the model itself is not as responsive as it could be. This is more likely a quirk of me just not having configured my VTuber model properly. However, if you do use Marmalades and you do find any issues, please feel free to mention it either on GitHub, which I'll also leave a link in the description, or on the comments or somewhere else, basically. The application is going to be open source, so it's also going to be free for any developers out there to edit it if they want to. The idea is to simply just provide one more option for VTubers to use. And yes, on Linux, as a VTuber, you can already have like, you can use VC face, you can use tracking from your iPhone. There are a few options that already work, but I wanted to make sure this one also had a reasonable option, because I do genuinely believe that MediaPipe will get better throughout the years, provided Google doesn't just straight up abandon it. And because of that, I mean, it's just an additional choice, right? And so it's free. Why complain, right? I mean, VBridger is not free. Neither is VTube Studio if you end up paying for the DLC, which is essentially like removing the watermark and other stuff like that. But Marmalade itself is free, so that you don't need to worry about. And just to be clear, there using webcam does create a little bit of CPU usage. I do have a somewhat powerful CPU, which is the 5700 X3D, and 20% CPU usage is quite a bit. But do remember, I have VTube Studio, I have VBridger, I have my little application, which is Marmalade. So I have all those three applications open, and I'm actively recording. So overall, I consider this to be pretty good. Um, it's likely that not using webcam tracking, offloading it to your phone would provide increased performance on your PC. It's likely you do not have this little setup or you have a secondary graphics card either. So all these little things to consider, right? But overall, um, that's it. This is the little program that I made. This is the video highlighting the features. Oh yeah, I guess one more thing that I think I forgot to mention earlier. You probably already noticed this, but in order to have this link with VTube Studio, in order to have Marmalade linked with VBridger, you need to have this option selected, VTube Studio, and you need to set the local IP address, which is localhost, so 127.0.0.0.1. And that is what's gonna make it connect to Marmalade. And just to show you that this thing does work outside of the command line, I stop this thing right here. So everything stops, and then I click start over here. And it's gonna take a second for VBridger to connect. If it doesn't, I can hit disconnect. There it goes. All right. I had to manually click disconnect and connect again, but it's here. It's working. Just like that. That's it. Hope you have a great day.